Well, we weren't allowed to have our phones in Costa Rica. And surprisingly, I didn't mind so much because we were so busy. And I think it was good just to stay away from that for a week.
It was very interesting. I remember there was a couple times when I'm trying to communicate with people, and we would have to do it when we saw each other face to face instead of, texting or calling each other to meet up in a place. So it was interesting. We had to plan out stuff days before because we couldn't use our phones, obviously.
Not having my phone, it was a little bit frustrating at times because I couldn't check the weather really easily or the time, so I couldn't plan my day ahead in the morning. But it was good because I was able to get off social media for a whole week, and yeah, I was able to have more human interaction.
And I don't use my phone that much, so I didn't really notice any difference, but I really did like it because other people, I could actually talk with them and hang out with them instead of having them just always on their phones and then never having a chance to hang out at all.
Not having your phone was an interesting experience. I think that allowed us to bond as a group a lot better because especially when we were traveling or when we had downtime, we were able to just talk to each other and make up silly games and do all these fun things together. There were a few times with host families when having Google Translate would have been helpful, but we always figured out what we were trying to say in the end.
Alright, so I did try a lot of new foods and especially a lot of fruit. One of the fruits that I didn't really like though was plantains. I know some people like those, it just wasn't for me though. Yeah, but we ate a lot of different meals. There was this thing that you stuff full of a bunch of different things, kind of like a taco but not really. And there was this fish meal that was really good. I don't really remember what it's called or anything, but yeah, it was really good.
I ate a lot of gallo pinto, which is Costa Rican beans and rice. I had it about once a day, at least, every day. My roommates and I also ate a lot of pineapple marmalade on toast in the morning. That was good. And one time we had hamburgers with ham on them. So that was an interesting experience, but all the meals we ate were wonderful, and so were all the people who prepared them.
In Costa Rica, I did try some new foods. There was a water apple tree in the backyard of Casa Adobe, and some people in our group dehydrated them and picked them. And there was also plantains I got to try, and I like both of those. But for the Costa Rican holiday, for one of their national holidays, I got to try homemade tortilla with meat in it. That was one of my favorites.
I ate a lot of new foods. I especially remember there was this fish that was in the ocean that they caught, and it was really good. I forgot the name of it, but it was amazing. We also ate a lot of rice, beans, just for every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, always rice and beans. I tried a lot of new fruits, tried coconut, these little Chinese suckers is what they're called, and these other little fruits, forgot their name, but a lot of different fruits, a lot of different foods. It was fun.
Yes, one food that I've been wanting to try was repo, which is basically just fried corn dough, and then they cut a little slit in them, and you fill them with corn or beef, and then guacamole too, and sometimes cheese as well. And that was really good.
The two things I don't want to forget was meeting my host family for the first time. I met them in a big circle of a whole bunch of people, and they just came right up to me, and they gave me hugs, and my host mom just kissed me and was just so nice just from the beginning. So that was exciting. But then saying goodbye to them was also just a really beautiful thing, and I didn't expect to be as sad as I was, but I just don't want to forget them and their hospitality.
Alright, one of the memories I don't want to forget from the trip was when Levi and I played Uno with the host family that we were in. And it was just a lot of fun to play with them and just fun to interact and get to know them more over just a simple game.
One interaction that probably stuck out to me the most was when I was with my host family one night, and it was just my host sister and my host brother, and we used Google Earth to show each other where we lived, and after that my host brother gave me a Costa Rican flag for his project, and I still have it in my room, and it's a cool memory.
I felt a good connection with Angelita, my host mom, and we were able to talk together even though I didn't know too much Spanish and she didn't know much English. We were still able to understand each other and make a connection together. To us, she felt like a second mom in Costa Rica.
An interaction I would not want to forget would probably be just in general playing that soccer game against that middle school team. That was so fun. And one moment I especially remembered was I was guarding this kid, and well, it was us, like our church versus the middle school team there. So I was guarding like this little kid, and he looks up at me and he's like, "Wow, you are really tall."
So what got me out of my comfort zone was going to a new country in the first place, which was just new for me. I haven't really been to many other countries except for Canada. So that was really cool, and yeah, challenged me to get out of my comfort zone. And another way I got out of my comfort zone was by interacting with host families that spoke a different language and sleeping at their houses. That was just really new.
I think I was out of my comfort zone almost the whole trip, which isn't such a bad thing, because I got to learn and experience a lot, and eventually I adjusted, kind of not knowing what was going to happen next.
There were a couple times, a couple of them that were especially outside my comfort zone was when I was trying to talk to the host families. They only spoke Spanish. It was hard to form sentences, but it was fun to try to. It was fun to try to communicate. And then also, just being there in general was weird, out of my comfort zone, because the culture is so much different than what I'm used to, and I've been in this bubble. So it was interesting to figure out, like what the traditions there are, what the food they eat, all that type of stuff.
Every day there was something new that I hadn't done before, so I would have to ask someone else how to do it. And for me, that's hard to ask someone else to help me because I'm always the one helping.
The main way I got out of my comfort zone was living with a host family. That was a really new and different experience, and just not speaking the same language as someone and living in their house is a lot. But I always knew that my host family, they were rooting for me and they loved me. So even if I was really uncomfortable sometimes, it ended up being okay.
What God really taught me when I was in Costa Rica was one of the unspoken lessons that I really didn't see coming. As a lot of you know, 2 of my roommates got COVID, and I was pretty bummed out, not gonna lie. But God taught me to find the silver lining and tested me of my positivity throughout the entire trip. And even though I had to have extra precautions, extra masks, being more socially distant from my friends, I found other things to be enjoyed about, like the simple morning breeze of Casa Adobe and the mountains, they were waving hello to me, the garden, the cats, the dogs, just finding even the littlest things in life to enjoy and to just slow down and take a breath. Even when things seem really busy, God taught me that sometimes you just have to take it slow and things will be alright.
There's a couple different ways. One of the big ways was just through the community. It was cool seeing everyone interact with each other, especially down there. Everyone's all friendly with each other, always saying hi to each other, honking at each other, in a friendly manner. And it was just so refreshing to see that, just to see everyone being nice to each other. So yeah.
One way I felt God's presence on the trip was at the very end of the trip, on the last day before we had to leave, when we went to the rainforest. And it was just really cool to see his entire creation around us while we just walked and hiked around. And it was a great memory for our entire group to have as the last kind of final thing.
I experienced God through the generosity and love of my host family. They made amazing meals for us and played games, and overall were just really kind and hospitable to us.
I experienced God's presence through all the wonderful people I met on the trip. They were all just so hospitable and loving to me, even though they didn't necessarily know anything about me and we couldn't communicate well. But they were just so kind the entire time and made me feel so loved.
I'd say one of the biggest ways that we can learn and, change from Casa Adobe is probably just including everyone, because the biggest part, I think the best part about Costa Rica and Casa Adobe was just the community, the people greeting each other, So I'd say just including everyone, being nice to everyone, just continuing doing that. I'd say that's the biggest thing I learned from Casa Adobe.
One thing our church could learn from Casa Adobe is the great sense of community there, because they all worked together and everyone took on a role, whether they were gardening or cooking or working to help someone else.
I think the main thing that ACRC can learn is about just the importance of investing in your community and what that brings to you, and about how welcoming is such an important thing. All the people at Casa Adobe just welcomed us, almost all total strangers, with open arms, and that was a beautiful thing.